Welcome back. We're now joined
Yes.
by Paul CHEON
Yeah.
and Kyle.
Yes.
Was
Kyle, say
Kyle
hi.
the key to victory in that round?
Oh yeah, he's my
Yeah,
he's my little lucky Cheon.
we've got the number one and number six, seven Cheon here.
I don't know. After the Tempest Remaster draft yesterday, who knows?
Yeah. So that was a pretty exciting
Uh,
match. You hit your one outer with manifesting a Tarka there.
One outer. I was so far ahead that game. Uh, I was a little stalled on mana earlier, so I was like, I wasn't the one turn where I played the Courser and generated a bunch of mana was pretty good, but yeah, I didn't know what was in his hand, and I was trying to play around Dead Drop because I saw that he had that in the sideboard as well.
Yeah, the one turn where he attacked and played Dictate were you playing around Dictate at all? Because it looked like
Yes.
Dictate was pretty good there.
Yeah, well, no, I figured no matter what he does there, like the dictate's gonna get me.
Hmm.
And I thought it was more important that my Xenagos lives,
Right.
because it adds to devotion and it just generates me 2 mana, even if he did have dictate there. So
So you were
I
aware of Dictate, knowing you were
yeah
going to lose some creatures. I mean, it didn't seem
yeah
like you were too surprised, but I could see. I could see.
yeah
I mean, that's not a normal card, though. You did have access to deck lists.
yeah. Because he had Strength of the Fallen, like I was like, well, I mean, I have to block all of his guys because I was trying to I was trying to figure out what enchantments he could play at instant speed, and he doesn't have Boon Satyr, so it had to be on dictate there. Yeah.
Makes sense. Now, talk to us about the deck that you chose to bring in the battle this week.
Okay, so I chose to play Red Green Devotion. Well, reason number one was at least last week it looked like nobody was interested in playing Esper. Like
Except
everybody
you.
just exactly. So everybody wants to play something different or something that beats Esper or something sweet. And if nobody's on Esper, I think Devotion is actually a really strong strategy because you have all these like mid-range Death Mist Raptor Den Protector decks that are trying to value out the Esper deck. But then you just play Devotion and you just go over the top of all these like stupid little Death Mist Raptors. You don't care. You just play in a Tarka and you just kill them. So that was my strategy. Reason number two, I'm playing against Brian Kibler round one. He's probably on some kind of forest deck. So I figured Devotion is a good strategy to beat his deck as well. And the reason why I chose red over white is because I figured, well, there's a decent chance he's going to play Dramoka's Command. There's like a pretty high chance he's gonna play. So like I don't want to get blown out if I'm playing Mastery of the Unseen. And I figured Dragon Lord Atarka is just like the best creature to play in a field where nobody's playing Esper.
Got it. What did you have the odds of Kibler being on a green deck?
About 99.9%
Okay.
maybe.
I was
Yeah.
sure it started with a 9. I was more interested in the second and maybe third digits.
Yeah. Kibler's just he bleeds green mana. Like he was definitely going to be on some kind of green aggressive deck.
Yeah, I think the week that Kibler shows up with a non-green deck is going to be a pretty surprising week.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Uh,
but even knowing he does that, I mean, you have to win two more rounds if you want to win the tournament, and you're playing a deck that's very capable of doing that. You're not playing a deck that has main deck slays and
No,
self-inflicted
no, no, no.
wounds.
I'm not playing like Perish main deck or no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to play like a powerful deck
Well, Perish would
that,
be bad because you have a lot of green creatures.
yeah. But I wanted to play like a powerful proactive deck, um, you know, and that just goes over the top of all the other mid-range strategies because that's pretty much what I expected everybody to play, except Raptor. Who knows? I mean,
And
he's
Cuneo,
playing.
who knows too?
Yeah,
Cuneo's brews have been just as crazy as Josh's so far, I
that
think.
is true. I was a little bit concerned that because if I got, what was that? Yeah, if I got past Kibler, I was concerned that Cuneo or Raptor would be on some kind of blue deck, but probably not Esper Dragon. So I still felt like I had maybe a shot with my Genesis Hydras. I actually had the choice of maybe playing the CD unwritten version, but that seemed a little too all in. Like if somebody's playing a mid range deck with Wraths, it's really really bad. So I chose to go with Genesis Hydra because it's at least a little bit better against the control strategies.
You could have gotten paired against See the Unwritten if Jerry had managed to take that game 3 from Tom.
Yeah, I could have. I'm not exactly sure how that matchup would have played out, but
Yeah.
Jerry's list definitely looked kind of sweet.
I think it's even more over the top than yours somehow. You've got Dragon Lord Atarka, and he's
Yeah,
got more at the top.
I do. I do have some Arbor Colossi and a Plummet in the sideboard, so I have a little bit of
Oh,
game.
all
But
right.
yeah, but yeah.
Now, how do you see the matchup against Tom?
Die roll is very very important. I want to go first, and I think I have actually a pretty good sideboard. I have
Okay.
7 cards specifically for the matchup. So well, yeah, once again, die roll is important. I don't know exactly how important, like how big the impact tremors is going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be annoying. So I'm going to have to try to avoid taking as much early damage as possible. But yeah, I think if I go first, I actually have a reasonable shot of beating him. But if he's on the play, then it's a lot more difficult.
What's your strategy for winning the die roll?
Worth, come on, whitelist, let's go.
Yeah. All right, we want to get round 3 started here.
All right, let me.
Yeah, we'll let you go and get set up to play Tom. Good luck.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and look at the deck list we get here. Here is Tom Ross with SLIGH plus some spice. Hasn't really been on mono red this season since Dragons came out anyway, but his buddy says try this one with impact tremors, and Tom's had some luck with it so far.
I just want to know when you side in the collateral damage.
The one?
Yeah. I wonder what that. Maybe it's to counter Bile Blight. That actually doesn't sound unreasonable. So I could see that being a pretty
Somehow
reasonable.
The 4th impact tremors is also a bubble card.
Yeah, I could see that, especially when you want to take out like Wild Slash against Esper. Bringing impact tremor seems like it's pretty good.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, mono red is definitely one of the real decks in this format. I mean, mono red as opposed to a Tarka red even that won the Pro Tour. At the Grand Prix last weekend in Toronto, we saw a number of the members of Team Pantheon showed up with mono red. Shahar Shenhar, Owen Turtenwald, several of those guys ran this. Jacob Wilson. Now, to be fair, none of them ran it to a whole lot of success. It was definitely a deck that the Grand Prix field seemed ready for, although no one at the Grand Prix had impact tremors.
Yeah, impact tremors is good against Esper. I don't know how many matchups it completely changes how they play because it is still kind of a racy card, but the more removal they have, like Tom said, the better it gets. So it's not the kind of card it seems like you'd want against a Green Devotion deck that they're just trying to race you onto the board, and impact tremors doesn't help you there. So there you'd want, Roast is fantastic, and impact tremors a little less so.
Yeah, that's a good point. You could be siding with that against Paul?
Yeah, I would imagine so. And Paul has, again, more of a sideboard, but mono red doesn't need as much of a sideboard. It can't sideboard as many cards. So Paul bringing in Arc Lightning, Hornet Nest, and Disciple kind of more makes it an even fight than it does give Paul a huge advantage. I think Paul's slightly ahead post-board maybe because of those cards, but it's not like his game 1 is bad enough that I think he does need them.
The trademark Houmph, 4 copies of the Polukranos there.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's got 2 Death Mist Raptors, kind of just 2 value cards that just really only combo with each other, or Rattleclaw Mystic, or Whispered Elemental. So those are nice ways to bring Death Mist Raptor back, which is kind of funny.
1 Den Protector inside.
Yep. All right, looks like we got the match ready, so
awesome.
We'll take a look here.
Let's get to it.
Paul's on the play. It looks like his strategy worked.
Week 2 finals here on the Standard Super League. Will it be Paul CHEON or will it be Tom Ross picking up the 5 bonus points? And it really feels like more than 5 bonus points when you win this match. It feels more like 35 points at stake here. Well, both players already have 20. And the way the scoring system works, you get 10 points every time you win a match, and you get a 5-point bonus for winning the week. The nice thing about winning those early rounds is not only do you get to 10 points, you also get the chance to go win more points.
Yeah, and Paul's draw is almost perfect here. I mean, Tom does have the Wild Slash, but, if they're Wild Slashing your Elvish Mystic instead of playing a creature, and then you have another Elvish Mystic and a Caryatid, I think you're pretty happy about that. I mean, Tom, I think, is likely going to Wild Slash. You just don't want to face down a turn 2 Courser, but it still just delays Tom from getting onto the board.
Oh, yeah. Foundry Tree Denizen's the kind of card that wants to come down right away. Start chipping away. You have to kill the elf, though, don't you?
I would assume so. Tom can go for more damage. You can play turn 1 Foundry Tree Denizen, turn 2 Swift Spear, Wild Slash Elf attack. But what if Paul plays a turn 2 Courser? I mean, that's so much more problematic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Elf down. And that hasn't changed since the days of, Llanowar Elves and Lightning Bolts, back in 1994. You should both be Elf. So it looks like Paul's gonna play this way guarantees him a Pelucranos if the elf lives, whereas playing Caryatid, he would have to draw an untapped land. And it forces Tom to either spend his turn killing the elf and have to have a second removal spell, which Tom currently doesn't have.
Nope, still doesn't have.
So I kind of expect Tom to just play 2 1-drops here.
Yeah, you go Valley Street Swiftspear.
Yeah, and then set up next turn a Hordling Outburst and an attack with a 4-1 and a 2-3. But Pelucranos just moats all that. I mean, turn 3 Pelucranos through a Wild Slash is an impressive draw on the play. I mean, this is the draw Paul needs to win this game.
Wow, yeah. Turn 3 Pelucranos on the play through Wild Slash, like you said.
Impact Tremors might actually be relevant here because Tom can play Impact Tremors, dash in if he wants the Lightning Berserker to deal 1, and then start up, to start casting token makers. But, Pelucranos plus now a Nykthos with 2 more spells in Paul's hand, like this looks pretty good for Paul, even with Impact Tremors here.
Yeah, if Pelucranos was just going to be forced on the defense because Paul didn't have anything else, then that's the kind of game where the Impact Tremors damage could maybe add up.
Yeah, but Pelucranos' ability is just going to mean that he can eat Tom's board and then attack 6 or 7 damage. Like, that adds up pretty quickly. Tom is still kind of on a slightly grindier path here.
Yep.
Looks like he's going to trade away a Monastery Swiftspear for 2 damage. That's my guess.
Do you consider blocking
damage,
the Berserker to turn off the dash Impact Tremors combo?
No, I would probably block the Swiftspear here. I could see blocking Foundry Seed Denizen, but the Swiftspear is, I think, the card that you care about more, especially since Pelucranos eats 1 toughness creatures very easily.
That's a good point.
I was going to say, do you play Genesis Hydra or Caryatid, but now you just slam Whisperwood. You can even attack with Pelucranos at this point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, turn 3 Pelucranos, turn 4 Whisperwood is kind of insane.
At this point, Paul's creature is just so completely outclassed Tom's.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the green deck is to cast 4 and 5 mana spells, then yeah, they tend to be pretty far ahead.
I guess it's another thing that hasn't really changed since the beginning of time.
Winning a game 1 does put Paul in a pretty good position. He gets to be on the play game 3 with his sideboard, even if he loses game 2.
It's a lot of triggers from Dragon Fodder.
Yeah. 4 Foundry Seed Denizen and 2 Impact Tremors, but it's not like, I mean, Tom can attack with a Foundry Seed Denizen and trade for a Manifest token, but that's not a super exciting play. I think Paul just has lethal out. I mean, I haven't actually countered, but if he had taken it there, could he just activate Pelucranos and just kill Tom? Because he can add 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think he could have just killed Tom almost exactly. He had to draw a land, I guess. But
the
he
8th
did
land
draw
for 4 activations. Yeah, he needed the land.
Yeah. I mean, this is safer. It's not like Paul's that likely to get burned out. I guess Stoke is one of your concerns here, but I still think just eating the 3 untapped creatures and attacking with Whisperwood and Pelucranos, maybe even leaving Elf back with the Manifest, it seems pretty good to me.
You want to leave something back because you know about Lightning Berserker.
Yeah, you get a Whisperwood token, which is nice.
Yeah.
Or Manifest, rather. But also, we know Tom's hand. He doesn't have any Stokes or anything, so it's going to be pretty tough for...
Yeah. Right.
Looks like Paul's getting to play Sylvan Caryatid basically for 1 mana because of the Nykthos then being devoted.
Mm-hmm. Kill that, and the other one. Take it. Humph. Tom down
Humph.
3.
And Humph pretty much up a game. I mean, I guess Tom can technically survive with Outburst plus Lightning Berserker for the massive chump blocks. Puts Paul to 6. But what card can Tom draw next turn? I guess he can... No, not even... Running Hordling Outburst still don't even do it, I don't think.
He does deal 4 damage this turn while creating all these jump blockers. Impact Tremors is almost sort of kind of relevant.
Yeah. I mean, it's doing something up. Dragon Lord Atarka is going to make this turn a little easier.
Wow. Dragon Lord Atarka's looked great all day.
Dragon Lord Atarka's done a lot of work. Well, Dragon Lord Atarka does look great when Dragon Lord Atarka goes on the stack.
That's true. It looks way better on the stack than it does in your hand. That is for sure. So Paul CHEON up a game here in the finals. It's just normal best 2 out of 3. So he just needs to win one of the next 2 to basically tie for first in the Standard Super League. With Owen losing in the first round, things are going to tighten up, right? Jerry got 1 win, so Jerry will have 30 points. Owen will have 35 points. Tom won his first round last week, right?
Yes, he beat Paul last week, actually. So this is a rematch.
Oh, yeah. So Tom currently on 30. If Paul wins, we'll have 2 35s and 2 30s.
Yeah.
If Tom wins, he actually takes the lead at 45.
So, yeah. Jerry's the only person so far. I mean, I guess Jerry made it to round 2 in the finals, and then Owen made it to Owen won, but then didn't make it out of round 1 this year.
Yeah, Tom has now made it to round 2 in the finals as well.
Yeah. So actually, I think that puts Josh in last. Is Josh the only person who's lost round 1 both times?
Brad has lost round 1 both times, hasn't he?
Oh, Josh and Brad, I guess, are tied now.
Yeah, Brad Nelson, he's terrible at Standard.
Well, it's been 2 weeks, so I would imagine people, as they get more acquainted with the league, they're going to have a little more information in terms of how they want to build their decks. Also, like I was talking with Brad about, week to week, people are going to have different amounts of time that they can devote to building their decks. I think some people are going to, like, we saw that in the VSL too. I mean, sometimes people were like, hey, I had a Pro Tour. Yeah. I'm going to play this dredge deck because I had our decks were due 3 days after the Pro Tour. Whereas sometimes I had a weekend at home and I played 3 daily events with the same deck before playing it. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Watching the scoring system play out over the course of the season too, it feels, I don't know, on the one hand it feels swingy, but on the other hand, I think that might just be an artifact of only had a week and now 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely agree. And like someone in the chat said, I actually agree as well that as the race gets to get closer and towards the end of the season, people are going to show up with slightly more tuned and better decks, I believe. Just because people are like, oh, I actually need to win, this next week if I want to make it to the playoffs.
I like the brews that we're seeing. I think it's fun watching these guys kind of.
I've said it every week. I mean, some people were like, well, why aren't they taking this seriously? It's like, honestly, this is a great place for people to try out brews that they wouldn't be able to try out otherwise. Right. And I think you really want a mix of people playing tier 1 decks, which clearly some people are, and a mix of people trying out new decks. Also, we're going to go to game 3 if Paul doesn't find a land. He kept a one-land hand with a scry land on the draw, and though maybe his strategy is just to get the Death Mist Raptor into the graveyard here. He's also playing around Eidolon by not playing any spells.
All true things. But yeah, I mean, scry land on the draw with 2 Caryatids, that's an easy keep, right?
I would assume so.
I guess it was Mystic and Caryatid, but still, it seems like an easy keep.
Yeah, well, the first Caryatid is the most valuable one.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in terms of the makeup. I think that, I don't buy the question, why aren't people taking this seriously? I feel like these guys are taking this seriously by trying things out. Like, they want to learn Standard. They want to figure out what the best decks are. And if they can come at things from another angle, in a field with really good players playing really good decks, that is taking things seriously.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that in the VSL too. There was a range of decks, and I think everyone's the richer for having this range, not everyone just playing, what won the last tournament, but at the same time, not everyone playing like a deck no one's ever seen before. So I think the mix is by far the best of all the 3 options.
I agree. And sometimes you have impact tremors in the finals.
Well, Den Protector making a little less of a splash here, but that is to be expected. We haven't seen an Obzon like mid-range deck yet, have we?
No.
We've seen Obzon aggro, but that's about it. Yeah,
and only 1 Esper Dragons across 2 weeks now, sort of 16 lists.
Yeah.
And our 16 lists are basically 15 different decks. Is that true? I guess there must have been some overlap this week to last week. I know it was 8 different decks last week and 7 different decks this week, and there wasn't even much overlap. Yeah, this game
Yeah,
is not.
there's just the 2 Mardu Dragons deck this week.
Exactly. All right, we are going to go to game 3. 1 game for the 15-point game, essentially.
Yeah, it's a big swing.
It's definitely a big swing. Tom currently on 30 points, Paul on 20 points. Yeah, big game. But now Paul on the play with a good sideboard plan for the matchup anyway.
Yeah, especially if Tom is taking out impact tremors, which he may or may not do. I honestly don't know enough about his deck to know whether this is the matchup for it. Doesn't seem like it is. Then Hornet Nest is actually pretty annoying to deal with. A 1/1 token attacking into it creates a 1/1 token, and attacking into it with like something bigger creates multiple tokens. Like none of those things are great ideas.
How many Hornet's Nests does Paul
have? 2. So
definitely a good card in the matchup.
Yeah. 2 Hornet Nest, 3 Dilease Disciple, 2 Arc Lightning. These are all good cards here.
Looked like he brought the Den Protector in too.
Yeah, it's a relevant play. I mean, I guess Paul does have cards that just don't really do that. Like, I mean, Dragonlord Atarka and Hornet Queen cost enough mana that I just don't think you're going to rely on them. If you get to that much mana, you're probably going to be in good shape. Like, of your Genesis Hydras, Dragonlords, and Hornet Queens, I don't think you want all of them. Like, maybe you want 1 or 2 of those high-end cards. You certainly don't want all of them, and you probably want very few of them. Yeah, so we'll see if Paul changes up his sideboarding strategy. If he's really worried about impact tremors, he could bring an Ugin to wipe the tremors off the board. I somehow do not think that's going to happen.
Seems like the worst answer to impact tremors I've ever heard.
Yes.
8 mana, no problem. Because when you've got 8 mana, what you need to do is deal with their impact tremors. All right, what do we got?
Paul has Arc Lightning.
Late draw from Paul.
Yeah.
2 mana, a Mystic, and then a 7?
Well, he has Arc Lightning into Pelucranos.
Yeah, and he just drew a land off the scry
So even though Tom, that was a bad draw for Tom, because I think, well, depends what Tom does. I think Tom's natural inclination is to Wild Slash here and then play Lightning Waller. The question is, does he cast it with Dash? He did not dash it, and now Paul's going to get just like an awesome Arc Lightning here. For mana efficiency's sake, and because it's such a bad combo with Eidolon of Great Rebel, Tom didn't dash it, but Arc Lightning is actually going to dash Tom's hopes a little bit just because it's just killing Tom's whole board.
And Paul drew the 4th land too.
Yeah, so he's going to get to... So Tom's going to play Eidolon, and then Paul's going to play Pelucranos, and Tom is not really going to be able to do a whole lot about that.
Wow.
Like Paul's at 18 still. So Tom's best shot is to like some combination of burn spells to kill Pelucranos, and then Paul just plays a second one. Yeah, this is looking pretty bad for Tom here. He could attack into Pelucranos and then stoke it, or actually at that point Lightning Strike it.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant, but Pelucranos gets up to 5 mana. Yeah, if you're Paul, you snap a block here because you've got a second Pelucranos. This is perfect for you.
Doesn't mean Tom's doing the wrong thing. It just means
no. I think this is Tom's best out, but
yeah, it's a good matchup for Paul and a good draw for Paul.
Yeah. Paul just going for value here. He's got an Atarka in hand, and now a Whisperwood coming up. Like Paul knows if he resolves these cards, he's just going to win.
Wow. Well, hats off to Paul CHEON. I think he kind of solved the metagame for this week anyway. Thought about what people were going to play, figured this was the deck that was going to be best against the field, and looks like he's going to get paid off with a win.
Yeah, I mean, Tom can stoke the Courser, but all right, at this point you have to just save stoke for Whisperwood since you know it's coming. So I kind of expect Paul to go land, probably just land Whisperwood. I mean, he could actually, Paul, could play Pelucranos. I don't think it's unreasonable to do that because Tom does have 1 card. It could be stoke, and you're winning so by so much if you just play a threat and have it live. But honestly, either way, I think Paul's in really good shape.
Yeah, it goes for the more straightforward play. Whisperwood is going to die before the end step.
Yeah.
Paul's not going to get the manifest. But still, now your opponent is hellbent with a 1/1 fire breather and some lands. You've got Pelucranos and Dragonlord Atarka in your hand.
Yeah, and you're at 20 life.
20 life. Good grief. Yes, 20 life.
So Paul's fetching now just so Tom can't kill Courser and prevent Paul from gaining a life. I think if you're Paul, I'm actually happy enough blocking the Lightning Berserker. You don't even need the Courser anymore.
Sure. Yeah, you make him spend his mana. Mostly you just trade. You're happy to trade card for card here.
Yeah, it takes up Tom's mana, and one of the ways you lose this game, which is actually like almost incredibly impossible to lose, is to take like 5 or 6 damage off the Lightning Berserker here. But I actually don't think that even could possibly matter here. Paul's at above 20 life at this point. He's got a Pelucranos against a 1/1, and he's going to be able to play a Tarka next turn. Well, Tom did draw the second Foundry Street Denizen, so there is that.
Oh my. Just attacking the Pelucranos, representing Stoke. Paul has no reason to call that fall off.
No.
And Pelucranos. And Dragonlord Atarka.
That should just about do it.
Yeah. Wow.
It's the most dead Foundry Street Denizen I've ever seen.
Paul CHEON, ladies and gentlemen. Tom types the GGs. Wow. All right. Paul CHEON wins 2-1, defeating Tom Ross in the finals. Picking up the points, picking up the week 2 win here at the Standard Super League.
Yeah, that was so far pretty swingy. The points have been divided, pretty well. Like it's not like the same person has won twice in the first 2 weeks or anything like that. So it's going to take
off the top of my head,
weeks.
I've got it at 35, 35, 30, 30. Yeah. Owen and Paul tied for first with Jerry and Tom, just 5 points behind them.
Yeah. And I think that it's going to take a couple more weeks before it really shakes out to where you have a good sense of who's going to be poised to make the playoffs, because at this point, yeah, Owen and Paul are ahead, but like 2 wins later, someone else could be way ahead of them and they may have picked up nothing else. So,
all right. So we do plan to get Paul in here to congratulate him, do a little winner interview. We've also got a week 3 bracket we can unveil.
Sounds good.
Look and see what's going to happen next week. Who are these guys going to be playing? There's the bracket. Tom against Josh. I kind of have no idea what Raptor's going to bring. I'm going to guess Tom's strategy of bringing something aggressive to sort of keep people honest might not get a week off with that pairing. I don't know. Kibler against Owen. Go ahead.
Just Josh has the widest range that we've seen so far, and there's almost no deck he could play that would surprise me, except maybe a good deck.
Right. His range is wide, but like they're all broods.
Yeah, so far, but Josh is very capable of just playing a good deck as well if he really wants to. So
yeah, that's true, and he's going to win points at some point. I mean, I know that he enjoys hanging out and going for the style point. Somebody should start the style point standings. Like somewhere, I don't know. There should be like the judged version of the Standard Super League, in addition to like the actual wins and losses.
Points adjusted.
Right? Who's got the sweetest brews? That somebody's got to be keeping track of that. I don't know who's qualified to be the judge though.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going to be right back, and stay tuned momentarily. We will have Paul CHEON in to talk with him about his win. Congratulations, Paul.
Paul. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Paul.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, right?
I wasn't just saying Paul for no reason.
No, you definitely, that's definitely within your range to do that.
Said you needed to win the die roll. We saw the woohoo in our chat when you did win the die roll. Kind of went according to plan.
Oops, hold on. It looks like my thing's up. Yeah, it did. It did. Won the die roll. Had a pretty solid draw. So
yeah, you had turn 3 Pelucranos through Wild Slash in game 1.
I did. And then game 2. Sorry, game 2 I kept the one lander. I think it was a pretty good hand though. Like it was on the draw and it had a Caryatid, which is really hard for him to deal with, and it was a scry land. So I think I have a pretty good shot of drawing the land on 2.
I would have kept.
And then I had like the Nylea's Disciple. I had like all the good cards against him. So didn't get there, but game 3 on the play, had a pretty solid draw. So
yeah. Nice. I mean, if you can resolve Pelucranos, it puts a ton of pressure on him because not only does he have to trade multiple cards for it, it can eat his whole board and it can kill him. So yeah, it didn't end up being very close just because you had Pelucranos out so quickly.
Yeah. The one turn where I played the Pelucranos, I was just like, oh god, please don't have roast. Like that was like the one card I was really hoping he didn't have, but so it looked like he didn't on that one turn. Hey Kyle. Yeah. Kyle, up a high five. Yeah. Fist bump. Yeah. All right.
He doesn't understand what happened. He doesn't know that you won the Standard Super League.
Kyle,
he doesn't actually know what Standard is either.
Danny won the Standard Super League. He's just happy to be here. So am I.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you. Yeah, that's awesome. It's Kyle the Lucky Charm. Is he the super secret?
Oh yeah, definitely. Come on, show us some enthusiasm.
Yeah.
There you go. Say hi. Kyle, say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that that kind of like my choice this week paid off. Like the fact that now Devotion is kind of in the mix might kind of adjust how other people choose their decks for the following weeks. Like somebody might pop out and actually decide to play Control again, but deck played out pretty smooth. It's pretty easy to play. Play your mana ramp guys and play the biggest creature in your hand.
Yeah, I mean it seems like a very CHEON deck, and
wow.
I think that it was a pretty good choice because it was good against Kibber's random green stuff, but it was also just good against the mono red deck, and it seemed pretty good against most random things that aren't like Esper Dragons, but no one else played that.
Yeah. Like I said, the two worst matchups I think are the Esper Dragon deck and Heroic. So I knew that there was a small chance that there was going to be a Heroic deck, but like Tom or Brad might be playing it, but I wouldn't be playing them until the finals. So yeah. I figured this would give me a good shot, especially for the first round.
And you thought it was like a pretty unlikely that you would be there.
Next question.
I don't understand why you got mad when I said you were only going to stream round 1, obviously. It's because we had discussed that you were going to stream round 1.
Oh, no. That's the reason, right? It's not the fact that I'm just going to lose and it's not close.
No, I just knew that you couldn't stream round 2.
After the first round of the last week, Luis had to make sure to ask Tom, so Tom, can you at least tell me if the match was close? And then because I have to know. I was like, why is that relevant? And then so I told him, like, yeah, I got bashed. It wasn't close. He played Ascendancy. And then Luis is like, oh, that's great. And then throughout the entirety of this past week, Luis just goes, yeah, Paul just never going to win. I mean, he got crushed by Tom, and I heard it wasn't particularly close. I'm just like, really? That's why you asked that question?
I was just trying to verify the facts. The people just need to know the facts. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. So once again, Paul lost, and it wasn't close. You even said it on your stream yesterday.
I don't recall that exactly, but I was just trying to set up the show for today. It's hype, Paul. It's actually doing your favor.
Building the hype. Yeah. So if I lose, then I just get it even worse. And if I win, it's because I'm either probably lucky or something else.
I mean, clearly, like you saw the matches.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Manifested Dragon Lord Atarka, obviously.
Yeah, it was your only out, as we discussed on air.
Yeah.
We also discussed the part where you read the field well, chose the right deck, and got rewarded. We did have this conversation, I promise.
Okay. Yeah, I even made sure I left notes for Randy just to let him know why I chose to play the deck. But yes, reason number one, I didn't think people were going to play Esper. Reason number two, I'm playing Kibble round one.
Yeah, those are good reasons, and I actually think that's one of the unique things about the Standard Super League is that you can metagame against your round one opponent, but you can't do it in a way that really costs you the opportunity to win the tournament. Since
Right.
winning all three matches is so much more of a reward than winning one. Like
Yeah,
winning
absolutely.
one is actually not that big compared to winning three. So you can make a choice that's like I'll choose a good deck that is good against my first round opponent, but still good. Not I will play a deck that's only good against my first round opponent.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for that reason, I chose to play the Devotion deck because I was like, well, Kibbler's going to be on some green deck. I considered playing like the red-green bees deck because Brian cannot possibly beat that deck. You know, it's got like 4 Hornet Nests in the main deck, but I thought that was pushing it a little too far. Like at least with this strategy, you know, it's very proactive. I'm just playing my ramp guys, playing big guys, and going over the top of all the mid-range decks.
Now, what would you play if it were a bigger tournament? I mean, if we were, you know, you had a Grand Prix to play tomorrow or something, what deck do you actually think is the best deck in Standard right now?
Okay, well, I definitely would not play the Devotion deck. There's just too much Esper floating around, and that is definitely a bad matchup for this deck. You know, I actually like the Lucas Yao's deck from that won Grand Prix Toronto. I think
Sure.
you know, we actually talked about it on Magic TV the other week. Me and Raptor were like, well, I think now that we have a defined metagame, you can actually just tool Abzan to be good against the field. You know, now we know that the two best decks are mono red, or the two big decks are. You got to make sure you have a plan for mono red. You got to make sure you have a plan for
Esper Dragons.
For Esper Dragons. So what do? Well, you play Den Protectors, you know, giving you more Thoughtseizes game one because the games go super long, and then you just make sure you have the necessary removal for the red matchups, and that's exactly what he did. And you know, I actually think that deck is a very strong deck moving forward. But then again, you never know. Metagame's always shifting. That's why the standard format's so great because every week there's just a new deck that's completely viable. Like I would not have considered playing this deck last week, but after I saw what happened in the first week, that's kind of why I chose to play this deck.
Yeah, and like you couldn't do worse anyway. So
Yes, exactly.
The Standard does seem awesome. I've certainly been having a lot of fun watching it, playing a little bit on the side. Thanks again, Paul. Congratulations on the win. I'm very curious to see what you bring to the table next week, how you're going to attack it again.
Right.
Hope everybody out there is going to come back and watch again next week. We'll be back, same time, same place. We've shown you guys the bracket. We can throw that up on the screen again, let you guys see how things line up for Standard Super League week number 3.
Ooh,
Paul's going to be playing Brad Nelson, battle of, you know, this week's champ and the guy, I guess, last weekend's champ. Brad put up the top 4 at the Grand Prix. Jerry and Andrew will be battling whatever brews they come up with. Brian and Owen are paired, and then Tom versus Josh. Should be fun. We hope you guys will join us again. I think we are done with Standard Super League week number 2. So thanks, Paul. Thanks, Luis.
Thanks for having me.
all right.
All right.
We'll see everybody next week.
Have a good one, guys.